The race of man was cursed by a demonic and possessed artifact known only as the Ocarina of Time Master Quest Debug ROM. Nobody knows where it came from or how it crossed over into our dimension, and for reasons beyond the comprehension of mere mortals, the race of ROM hackers decided to use this version, and only this version, for all their wicked ROM hacking desires. And thusly, all the way back in the ancient time period of 2008, a ROM hack called Zelda's Birthday was released on the 10-year anniversary of Ocarina of Time. And finally, at the end of all time, after 14 years of blood, sweat, and tears, ROM hack critic man Phantom Bino has finally got it working on his computer. So happy birthday, Zelda. Zelda's Birthday is a ROM hack that I have received numerous requests for over the years, and every time another person recommends it to me, I think, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure I already played that one. But then I go looking back through my channel, and sure enough, I can't find a video on it at all. So I decide to check it out, and after running into crash after crash after crash, I go, oh yeah, that's why I haven't played it. Because I can't. That's the thing about ROM hacks. Not only are they hard to make, but quite tragically, they can be hard to get working as well. This is less true today, as ROM hackers have figured things out a lot more after years of experimentation and documentation, but this is 2008, so there is an inordinate number of hoops you need to jump through to get it to work, and I don't even want to imagine how janky it was to make it in the first place. However, the fact that it's so old kinda made me want to play it more. I don't know if this was the first Ocarina of Time hack, probably not, but it was definitely one of the earlier ones that comes to mind. All of this is to say that Zelda's Birthday is, in the world of Zelda ROM hacks, a game of cultural and historical significance. So it's kind of a must-play for people like me. Considering this is an early Ocarina of Time ROM hack, the ambition and scope is quite spectacular. It's not an insanely huge scale thing like Master of Time or Missing Link, although it is very impressive in its own way. Instead of creating an entirely new map, world, and universe, it's more like a rearrangement of Ocarina of Time's world. Now with a completely new context, instead of fighting to save humanity, you're fighting to get all of Zelda's birthday presents back after they were stolen from all of your childhood friends. It's a surprisingly wholesome premise that feels respectful to the source material because it doesn't erase the original story. Zelda's Birthday has 3 dungeons to explore to find 3 of Zelda's presents, and of those dungeons, 2 of them are remixed dungeons from the original game, and 1 is based heavily on the first dungeon from the NES title. This is a crazy dungeon because it's full of iron knuckles that can one-shot you if you haven't collected enough heart containers. Of course, if you have, they can two-shot you, so yeah, this game is surprisingly difficult. Zelda's Birthday makes really good use of the established world to create new challenges and experiences. I went into this expecting it to be like a 45-minute hack with some new dialogue and some very basic new quest lines, but no. This is a full-blown thing that I put at least 4 hours into. Now 4 hours might not be the first thing that comes to mind when you think big, but for Zelda ROM hacks, that is relatively sizable. Hyrule Field has this challenge where 20 enemies are strewn about the map so you can hunt them all down and get a prize. Ingo keeps telling you about how his cuckoos keep going missing at night, so you unlock the ranch and find out that Wolfos are popping up and stealing them. Also, a Gerudo thief stole one of his cows. Even though it's not an entirely new and original adventure in the contemporary ROM hack sense, it feels in many ways like it could have been an official add-on for Ocarina of Time, and that's special in its own way. It's almost like this is what Ura Zelda could have been, a big bonus chapter for an already phenomenal video game. One of the things I love about this game is all the bonus features. Aside from the main content, there are a ton of hidden heart containers and whatnot that can be very helpful on your journey, even though you don't really need them to beat the game, but it rewards exploration in a way that you can't take for granted. The rearranged puzzles are very rewarding and almost remind me of something like Master Quest, but better because the story is now different. I remember I was racking my brain trying to get up to this platform here, and at some point I talked to this guy who's just sitting over here and he says, "Did you find the 4th ending yet?" Yeah, not only does this game have more than one ending, but it has more than 2 endings. And not only does it have more than 2 endings, but it's got more than 3 endings. In my case, I've only experienced 2 of the endings so far, but I'm sure the other 2 endings are at least better than Zelda on CDI. I feel like a big challenge ROM hackers face when making a Zelda hack as opposed to a Mario hack or something is making puzzles that make sense and are reasonably easy to figure out. It's no longer a simple matter of plopping stars in an elaborate spot. You gotta work out a very methodical procedure for getting from A to B and a way to push players in that direction naturally. When Zelda's Birthday is at its best, it's surprisingly competent at this. Because the dungeons are all rearranged and the sequence of puzzles and quest items and tools is completely different, this is not the type of thing where you know exactly how it's going to play out just because you played the vanilla game. A difficult thing for me to do with Zelda ROM hacks often is to have faith that the puzzles and the sequence has been thoroughly thought out and tested, which is a little unfair of me. The reality is these guys just know way more about it than I do, and they've definitely considered and thought about these things way more than I have because they're the ones actually making it, and you gotta learn to believe in that. That being said, it is worth noting that this is definitely an old ROM hack, and that is not really a compliment. It's probably not fair to judge this by today's standards, so I think there is some leeway and consideration to be given on that basis. But realistically, if you still haven't played this ROM hack and you're thinking about it, you are going to experience a lot of certified ROM hack moments. There are numerous parts of this game that just feel a little goofy from the standpoint of game design, like the third dungeon that's full of deadly fire-breathing statues on every corner, or this mini-boss in a room full of pitfalls, or this stupid shit. Also, I'm pretty sure there's a troll moment where you fall down this hole and open a treasure chest that just has some rupees in it and you can't leave because there's a literal firewall blocking your exit, so you have to save and reset the game. If I find out there was an actual way to get out of here, I will be very upset. There are moments like this, where you have to hit this switch by using the boomerang in an extremely specific spot, or other times where I got to Zora's domain and there was an invisible wall blocking me off from half the map for reasons I don't really understand. It's not always particularly intuitive, and there were moments where I was convinced that I was permanently screwed because I used the small key in the wrong order. I mean, I didn't, but it was still freaky. There's a part where you had to fight Baronade in an arena that was just not built for that fight. When it's at its worst, it can be very wonky and definitely outdated by today's standards, and there were moments where playing the game was somehow more frustrating than setting it up. But at the end of the day, it was really cool to see all of the things that they got right. Like I've said before, Ocarina of Time ROM hacks are few and far between, so all of them are valuable to me. And the good news is, in spite of all of that wonkiness that it has going against it, it still has a lot going for it. And you gotta remember, this is an old-ass ROM hack, so a lot of the things that we take for granted now, like rooms that aren't covered in dickhead fire traps, were not established yet. Zelda's Birthday isn't as polished as a lot of the ROM hacks that would come later, but it's still a really unique experience and a cool rearrangement of the foundation already set by the original game. It's an early proof of concept of what Ocarina of Time ROM hacks could be, and it's definitely a certified classic to this day. This game deserves to be entered into the ROM hack Library of Congress for its historical and cultural significance, and I deserve a degree in computer science from MIT for getting it to run on my computer.